Welcome back. Welcome back to my channel, Latin Whisper. My name is Alicia. So, I'm gonna go ahead and I've got a Dollar Tree haul, so I'm pretty excited about that. I probably won't be able to do it tonight. I just got home from my niece's little gathering, which was fun. We watched Hocus Pocus. I didn't know that was made in 1993. Yeah. So that was a long time ago. Anywho, I've got everything here prepared tonight. I'm a little tired because I gotta go to work tomorrow, but it's Friday. So excited. Gonna have my some peelers, the last of them. I hope everybody had a happy Halloween, and it's still Halloween. Hello, happy Halloween. I love the holidays. I love Halloween. I got to go to 2 pumpkin patches, which was so fun. I love hanging out with my family, which is my niece, my mother, my sister, my brother. But my brother lives in Miami, Florida, so I don't get to see him a lot. And my husband and my sister-in-law. Okay, yeah. Anyhow, so happy Halloween, everybody. I really like these peelers. Amos, the world's candy innovator. It says you can get in touch through Facebook and Instagram. Cool. We had to dress up tonight. I was in a jumpsuit. It was orange and black jumpsuit. And I was a cat. And so I put, cat whiskers and a cat black nose. And my mom wasn't going to dress up. She said she's just not going to do it. My niece she was a gypsy. And her husband was a golfer. And my sister, I can't remember what she was. Anyways, alright. So we're going to finish the book tonight. We're on chapter 9. Taste of his own medicine. Oh, good. They're going to get the doctor back. So I'll start back here, last paragraph, and I'll read. Glasses. Start fixing your ailments before the rest of us can start fixing our own. Said Caleb. He smiled at Jacob. But no, really, be careful tomorrow. Don't get caught. Jacob raised his head proudly. You won't have to worry about me. Jacob practiced his fake cough the rest of the way home. My water tonight. There's no drinking. I don't drink. And if I drink, it's like once in a blue moon. Okay, chapter 9. I already read that. responsible for Dr. Death finally getting what he deserved. Jacob, you're late for breakfast, his mom called from downstairs. I'm not feeling well, Mom. I'm not feeling too well, Mom, he said when he walked downstairs. Jacob's cough was sounding more and more convincing. Oh no, said Miss Chung. What's the matter? I have this terrible cough. I'm feeling pretty stuffy. She walked over to feel his forehead for a fever, and Jacob winced from her touching the sore bumps scattered on his forehead. Well, I guess a trip to the doctor wouldn't hurt. To the doctor? Yes, you can just eat your breakfast, then we will go in. Actually, Mom, I felt like I should rest first. Can we go this afternoon? Is it that bad? Yeah, actually, I think I'll take my breakfast upstairs and finish it. Then maybe try to nap. Okay, if you insist. Jacob could hear a rise of excitement in her voice after she realized she would be able to see the doctor again. He was ready to go upstairs and turn his TV on, then hide under the covers. As Jacob walked out of the kitchen, the fire extinguisher beside the fireplace in the living room caught his eye. He knew then what to do. Around an hour after lunch, Jacob's mom woke him up from a nap and took him to the doctor. The waiting room was just as busy as before. Jacob noticed this time more women were there, some seeming to have no visible cough or illness. He waited close to the front door as he thought out his plan. When he was called back by the nurse, he planned to excuse himself to the bathroom. Then he would pull the fire alarm, hoping to buy time to find the keys and replace the desk jars. It annoyed Jacob to watch his mom put on lipstick in her small makeup mirror after she had returned the completed paperwork to the front desk. After she had adjusted more parts of her makeup than Jacob knew existed, the nurse finally called him back. Normal temperature, said the nurse as she glanced at Jacob after he sat in the chair in the middle of the exam room. The doctor will be with you shortly, she said as she began briskly walking out of the room on to see another patient. I'll actually follow you out, said Jacob. Gotta use the restroom. The nurse over-explained where to find the restroom, as Jacob knew this office well already. He could hear the doctor enter an exam room down the hall. When the nurse was out of sight, Jacob looked into Dr. Blair's office. Nobody was there, so he shut the door behind him. The doctor had taken his lab coat with him, and Jacob was sure the keys had to be in his pocket. Jacob frantically searched the doctor's desk, moving over piles of files and papers. They weren't there. How could he check the doctor's lab coat pocket? Then he turned toward the last place he was going to look, the satchel draped across the back of the doctor's chair. He saw a glimmer from inside the pocket. It was the keys. Now to figure out which one opened the shelves in the hidden room. He knew he was running out of time. Looking both ways, he jumped out of the room and pulled the fire alarm that was across the wall. He ran back in the office and hid under the desk while people frantically searched for the exits and the source of the alarm. He hoped the doctor wouldn't try to run back into his office to save any remedies or disease rubs or disease tubs and catch him. He waited for the He waited for the sound of footsteps in the hallway to calm down. When the coast was clear, he started fiddling with the keys as he ran to the shelf titled Cures and Remedies. He looked at the keyhole and tried to compare size keys on the doctor's ring. When he finally found the right one, after several attempts of keys that wouldn't turn, he opened the shelf to the tubs. He was going to stash away some remedies for him and his friends, then swap the labels on all the bottles and tubs that the doctor had. He gently removed each label and fixed it to its new container. He repeated this process until every one of the ailments had been switched with a cure. He even replaced the jars on the doctor's desk. Everything was returned to its proper place, and Jacob stood back to survey his handiwork. He couldn't believe how quickly he had done it. Leaving the secret room, Jacob once more pressed the button on the desk and closed the doors. He lifted the bag containing the stolen cures and he slipped out through the back door of the office. Jacob was sure his mother was worrying about not seeing him among the crowd that had rushed into the parking lot. He saw her at the front asking the nurses if they could check the bathroom again. "Mom, I'm fine," he said as he walked up to her, seemingly out of nowhere. "Oh, thank goodness you're all right," she said. "I'm feeling much better, Mom. I don't think we should stay and wait for all of this." "What changed so fast, Jacob? We should leave. This will take forever, and I'll probably feel better with some rest." "Are you sure?" she asked, seeming disappointed as she looked from Jacob to the doctor. "Okay, if you're sure, let's go home." Chapter 10. Dr. Yuck. I need some agua. Okay, there's only 2 more chapters left. They're not too big. So, grab a couple of these babies. It's just like snap right. Okay. It was English, Jacob's last period, on a Friday afternoon. A month had passed since the events took place at the doctor's office, and all 4 boys were completely cured. The sun was streaming in the classroom window as the boys listened to their teacher sum up the final scene from the Macbeth. Xavier pushed a note toward Jacob. "Where are you going tonight?" Jacob smiled before writing back. "Meeting Emma at 7 and going to see a movie. Will you and Olivia be there?" Before Xavier had time to scribble his reply, the final bell rang, and both boys grabbed their books and bags before running happily out of the classroom into the sunshine. Oh my god, this gum. I don't think I'll get this one again. That's Sour Patch Red Berry. That's sour. It really makes your mouth water. I'll do the spearmint. Okay. Sorry. It just makes you water. Okay. The receptionist took another sip of her coffee and turned the pages of her newspaper to the help wanted pages. She was startled by her buzzer. "Yes, Dr. Blair," she said with a sigh. "Would you bring me my coffee?" he rasped. "Certainly, doctor." She got up from her chair and walked into the kitchen. She put some coffee and cookies on a tray and walked towards his office. She dreaded this part. Taking a deep breath, she knocked twice on the door, turned the handle, and went in. The stench hit her as soon as she opened the door. The doctor, seated behind his desk, was barely recognizable as the smooth, sophisticated Dr. Blair she had originally come to work for. The man seated behind the desk was now completely bald. His eyes dull and lifeless, and his once white and even teeth now reduced to brown, rotting stumps. He seemed to have shrunk in size and appeared much thinner than he had been before, probably due to his frequent visits to the toilet. The receptionist thought as she placed his coffee before him. "The poor man suffers from chronic bouts of diarrhea." He muttered his thanks, and she gratefully left the room. "I really have to find another job soon," she thought as she walked slowly back to the reception through the deserted waiting room. There hadn't been a patient in here for weeks now, and who would blame them? The change in the doctor in such a short period of time was really quite unbelievable. He looked awful, he smelled awful, and he was so gruff in his manner that he frightened people away. She sat down at her desk again and started to type. "I'm writing in response to your recent job listing." Dr. Blair pressed the button on his desk and slowly made his way into his secret room. He unscrewed the jar labeled shiny, well-conditioned hair and greedily swallowed a large spoonful. He stopped to scratch his face, his dirty jagged nails accidentally catching the head of a pimple, causing green pus to spurt from it and run down the side of his face and drip onto his collar. Lifting the jar labeled healthy bowel movements, he wondered aloud, "Maybe I'll have 2 spoonfuls today. Maybe that will help." Little does he know. Last chapter, chapter 11, the carnival. Okay, I'm just gonna drink some water. Jacob didn't tell the rest of the boys that he had stashed extra cures into his pockets, the most beneficial vials on the cures and remedies shelf. He was going to use them for the carnival. He had been anticipating that night. This is where he would see Emma Summers again. He thought his stashed cures were sure to make him as handsome as Dr. Death had been before his sudden change of appearance. The cures on the shelves in the office were too tempting not to take for his own. In his pocket were shiny, well-conditioned hair, healthy bowel movements, clear, perfect skin, sweet-smelling breath, and white teeth. He had them in his backpack, so his mom wouldn't see until he could use them. Everyone was going to the carnival, and he expected Emma to be there because it was the town's most important event. "Bye, Mom," he yelled as he ran toward the front door. "Wait a minute, Jacob. How are you getting there?" "We're meeting at Caleb's house, Mom. He yelled over his shoulder at his mom as he opened the door to Santiago and Xavier waiting for him. I might see you there. Try not to avoid me. She always assumed the worst. Look good, Jacob, Xavier said. Look at that skin. It's as if Dr. Death never even met you. When they reached the end of the cul-de-sac, Caleb's mom was already in the car. Surprisingly, she wasn't complaining about waiting, as Jacob would expect his mother to do. The boys piled into the back seat with Caleb in the passenger seat. Is that doctor still working there? Xavier asked. I heard he was moving. A new doctor is coming to take his place. Are you boys talking about Dr. Blair? Caleb's mother asked. Caleb nodded. It's a shame what happened to him, she said. What do you mean? Jacob asked. Just him changing so quickly, she said with a sigh. The carnival was busy at first glance, and Jacob couldn't recognize anyone because they were all moving so quickly from ride to ride. It wasn't until waiting in line at the Gravitron that he saw Emma Summers standing nearby with some friends. She smiled at him. Hey, follow me, Xavier said after noticing. He casually started while talking to Emma's friend, Lizzie. Emma joked about Jacob's fall. He hoped they would have more things to talk about by now. Yeah, there was a beautiful flower I saw in the bush, he said. You regretted this one, he said it. Emma giggled. Sure seemed like it. Glad you weren't hurt. Soon they were all being ushered onto the ride. While the Gravitron was going fastest, he thought he felt Emma's hand brush against his. How did it go? Xavier asked as they walked off the ride. It went good, said Jacob. Except we only talked about my embarrassing fall the other day. She could have at least mentioned the movie. Xavier couldn't contain his laughter. You're telling me you didn't even ask her to hang out again? It was right when he asked this. Jacob would later worry if she heard Xavier's comment. Just then, Emma Summers tapped his shoulder as the boy started incredulously. Want to go see the movie with me later this week? She asked with a smile. Jacob nodded, too stunned. Jacob nodded, too stunned to speak. She only stayed long enough to ask the question, and then immediately returned to her friends, laughing nervously. Jacob didn't care though. He was just glad they made another plan. As she walked back to her friends, the rest of the boys patted him on the back, and Jacob turned bright red. I can't believe it, said Xavier. You actually got yourself another date. I never thought I would see the day, honestly, said Caleb. Jacob rolled his eyes and looked back over at Emma. If he was being honest, he could hardly believe it either. If they hadn't figured out how to deal with Dr. Death, he may have never had a chance at the girl of his dreams. Jacob had gone from average teenager to basketball star to secret town hero, and getting a second date with Emma Summers was just the icing on the cake. Thank you, Dr. Blair, he said under his breath. That's it. That's the end. That was interesting. Dr. Blair was a creep. Doing all that to the youth. This year, back here. This is just a little excerpt, kind of telling you about another story, but it only gives you a couple chapters. They want you to get the other book, and I don't know where it's at. I'd have to look for it at Dollar Tree. It's called a Mirror Mirror. I don't have Mirror Mirror. This one is Dr. Death. Okay, so we finished it. My left hand is stronger. Okay, alright. You guys have a happy Halloween the rest of the night. And I will see you in the next video. Oh, before I go, if you like this channel, please subscribe. There's still 50%, 52% that are still not subscribed. If you could please do so, just hit that subscribe button. It's free. Also, give me a thumbs up if you like my channel. This will just help me grow and hopefully get out there in the algorithm. Also, touch that notification button to get notified of my next upcoming video so you don't miss any. And if you could, please share me out. I'm actually trying to get back on TikTok just to do small snippets of my ASMR channel, and I will have a link to YouTube. So, alright,